Zoom. All right, so click the little blue button that says, you know, we're recording. You will not be on the recording unless you talk. I forgot to include my disclaimers, but please do not say client names, client initials, or describe clients in detail, because this does get posted privately, but to YouTube so that we can have people watch it. Okay, get rid of this black box. All right. Can somebody just confirm that you can only see the PowerPoint now?
There's a box in the middle now. Oh, now it's good.
Okay, good. All right, so we're going to get started. I'm pretty excited about this one. There's a lot of videos in it, so I want to make sure I kind of move myself through, which tells me that I need to put the clock in the right place so I can see it, so that I can keep us on track. So we're going to talk about play and engagement, social routines to build pairing and responding. We are going to talk kind of, here we go. So this is why are you not doing what I'm asking you to do? Oh no, go back, go back, go back. Up, down, hold on. One moment, please. How do I fix it? This is not usually the way that it works. Usually left and right is how we do this. How's everybody doing? All right, we're gonna stop sharing. We're gonna go out here. We're gonna resume slideshow. We're gonna go back to the beginning. And then I'm just gonna be really careful about what I click. I'm glad that's all recorded for everybody to view my silliness for all time. Okay.
I made it.
Okay. So, can you guys, do you guys see all the slides on the left? Just see the
Yes.
main.
The first 6, yes.
And now good? Now just the, I know there's a black box.
Now, yes.
Just the first slide, yeah.
I appreciate that they continually update Zoom, but I wish that they wouldn't change things so much, because there we go. Okay, so the training progression. So this is the first part in a series of trainings that is meant to move us towards kind of better outcomes. So we're borrowing a lot of stuff from Dr. Greg Hanley, who you guys have heard us talk about a lot in the past, to build stronger services that are more effective. So part 1, Ashley sent out this graphic that she made based on a quote by Dr. Hanley that I think is really just kind of says exactly the things where I want us to grow. And so part 1, this really worked nicely, because today's training really is largely about bringing the joy. So it is some other things as well that you'll kind of see as we go through, but that is really kind of the focus. So we're going to kind of keep coming back to this graphic that Ashley created and shared in this quote by Greg Hanley, and moving forward kind of from there to build the stuff that we already know. So we're not breaking the machine. We're not changing what we do. We're just adding to it. So, so we're going to start with a video. So this, of course, is probably going to make everything silly. I don't know what's going to happen if I just click on it. I really think that I have to stop sharing and then reshare, but I feel like that's going to do, well, hello, Miss Danielle. I feel like that's going to like restart everything. So we'll just bear with me. We'll see what happens. So you're going to watch this video entitled Sumo, and just watch it for now. That's your only expectation. You don't have to be trying to figure anything out just yet. Stop share. Share this one. Share sound. Oh, that's weird. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't put me there like that. Okay, share. All right, can you guys see the video?
Mhm.
Okay. All right, good. All right, you got sumo. You ready? Keep going. Gonna be sumo?
Yes.
Again? Okay. All right, so that's our first video example. That is sumo. I developed that game when I was working like my first year as a TSS back then. And yeah, it worked out really well for me. So now I use it on my nephews. So the boy you'll see in a lot of these videos is my 3-year-old nephew, Dean. And I do have permission from him and his mother to show him in these videos. He is very excited. I told him he is a movie star, and he is very happy about that. Now, Dean does not have autism. He does not have developmental delays. So you might be thinking, well, how's that going to help us, Rob? Because we work with autistic children. Yeah, sure. But behavior is behavior and kids are kids. And my original use of this was with nonverbal autistic children. So so that's really just to see. So your first code word, boom, is sumo. So there'll be 3 code words throughout the training. And usually I do 3 of my favorite things, but today we're going to do three elements from the training. So the first one is sumo. Okay, so we're going to start with homework. We're going to start and end with homework. So this is really important to this training. As with all trainings, we really want to make sure that you are applying the information that you're taking to what you're doing. Poor Danielle's all by herself in this room with me, so I'm going to talk a lot to her and to the computer. So it's really important that we use the information that we're taking in. So what I want you to do on the post test, you're going to be expected to provide based on the model we're presenting today, a new game or play routine that you are going to use with one kid or multiple kids or a group or whatever it might be. So as we go through this, I want you to think in terms of what sort of activity or activities can you add. So I don't, it's cheating if you put one that you already do. It should be something new that you come up with as we go through this training. And the good news about that is you guys should have a lot of examples as we go through here. So you could steal one if you think that you could really nail it. Dr. Francesca Daly Espinosa is one of my very favorite people in ABA. This is me with her at the National Autism Conference. I got the chance to kind of talk to her a little bit. I message back and forth with her sometimes on Facebook, which is super exciting for me. I don't know that I'm a friend, but we stay in touch somewhat. So she is, like, to me, the ultimate example of these pattern games and play chains that are built in a way that build skills. So they're not just fun for the purpose of fun. They're fun for the purpose of engaging, motivating, and building really important skills in our learners. And probably like the first half or even more of this training is going to focus primarily on really low verbal learners. But I really want you to know, and it's very important to know, that these social chains exist throughout our lifetime and our learning. So if you're thinking, I work with older kids, so this doesn't apply to me, you are wrong. This is helpful, useful for all. But some of the examples we're going to use are kind of low language. Now, Dean, that you're going to see a bunch of times, he is fully verbal. He talks and talks and talks. He can say really anything. So yeah, so just kind of keep that in mind. It is useful for any age, any functioning level, all that. So what we're building is this chain. So there are interactions where there's a clear pattern or sequence of events so that it becomes predictable and it becomes controllable, primarily on the child's end or the learner's end, right? So we're kind of doing all the show, we're doing all the stuff, but it's really, you know, contingent. And as a new mom, Danielle, I'm sure you're familiar with all the things that typically developing individuals kind of do to get us to do something, right? So when people are like, oh, this kid has you wrapped around their finger, that's really what we're talking about, is they know what to do to get us to do things. Now, in a lot of cases, our autistic learners don't have that control over their world. So we want to give a little bit of that to them, because that's really where conversation starts and relationships and all those sorts of things. You know, then we're building in kind of these pauses that we'll talk a lot about, right? So in the sumo video, there was a lot of times where I could have paused. I could have stopped in between steps, right? So if you look at the sumo, there's like, I go sumo, right? And then I do the one leg, two legs, right? The slap, the belly slap, and then the approach, right? Now, the whole time, if you're watching my nephew, he was locked on, looking at me, giggling, ready, extending his arms out, getting ready. But if he hadn't done any of those things at any point, I could have paused and waited for him to look and then move to the next one. That's really what we're talking about, is you can pause it to put that, you know, that like non-attention paying, or if he ran off, I'm not going to chase him with the sumo game. Very important. Now, there are other games that involve chase. This one does not, right? This involves him being kind of in front of me. So you create this like chain of links. Now, this one is really like a 1, 2, 3 punch. Right? So like I make sure he's ready. So I see that there's motivation there. We're going to talk about this. I begin the chain. I go through the whole thing. Now throughout there, now it's not really 1, 2. It is, right? He's looking the whole time. So it actually is a pretty big long chain. I misspoke. But sometimes, like if I'm just kind of like waiting here, I promise I won't tickle you, Danielle. If I'm like waiting here and Danielle looks at me and then I tickle her, right? And then I stop. That's like really like, it's a pretty simple chain, but it could keep going. And then I pull back and she giggles again, right? So we're building these chains with the intention to kind of build a lot of skills. So a lot of games that we play with our young kids are like this. Peekaboo, right? You ever done peekaboo? You know what that is? You better know what that is. Any games where, you know, like songs where they're inserting, and then we can repeat it. You find this really cool rhythm, right? So they know like, okay, I can't wait that long. I got to keep going. I've got to have a lot of movement. I've got to be loud, whatever it might be. And then the key here, right? End when the motivation is high. Do not play your game. Do not play sumo until they are tired of sumo, right? You do not want to burn out the motivation. You want to be like, okay, all done, when they're not ready. And maybe they'll have a little bit of like, oh, you know, but then you move on to the next thing, a different play chain or a different expectation. But you really want to end there where you've got high motivation. And I don't know if you can see it or not, because on my screen it's kind of being blocked out, but at the bottom, there is a link here. At the end, there's several trainings. The one that almost all of the slides reference here, and that's where the link is. There's like a link down there at the bottom, is this amazing training that Dr. Espinoza did at the Awesome Conference, and it's free. So you can access for free, so you can learn more about this stuff. Here she is again. All right, so what do we need for this? Okay, so we need at least 3 steps. Okay, so starts with an adult action to signal that it's beginning, right? The next step is the child's piece, right? Or the learner's piece. And without this, and this is important to remember, maybe you'll see it somewhere in the future. Without this piece, the learner's response here, then it's not a chain. It's just you doing things all by yourself. They might be funny, they might be silly, the parents might think it's great, but unless you get some sort of response from the kid, then you're not building this chain. And that response doesn't have to be like, yeah, let's do that, right? It could just be eye contact. It could be a giggle. It could be like what kids do, like when they're ready for the tickle, right? Like they draw in, getting all ready for it. All of those things would count as this second step, right? So at least one of the actions must be reinforcing, preferably the last, okay? So if you might be thinking like, oh, where's the sticker or the candy or whatever it might be, it's not there. This is the reinforcing thing. You don't have to give them stickers and candy and all those sorts of things to do this because you're picking things that are fun for them. So a lot of you guys sent me feedback of things you're already doing. And the one common element that I saw was like, okay, figure out what they like and use that. What's their special interest? Incorporate that. So, you know, over the years, like I've had just like hundreds of these games. We played Slender Man. We figured out a game to play for that. We had Five Nights at Freddy's games, you know, like whatever they're into, I'm going to harness that, which also means constant adaptation. Now you might be saying, oh, was these little nonverbal boys, was sumo something they were interested in? No, I really cannot honestly answer you where sumo came from. I don't know how it popped into my brain, but it worked. The actions must be contacted by the child, right? So and they have to see what's coming so that they can have those anticipatory gestures, right? So they're getting ready, right? They're getting ready to like be tickled. They're getting ready to chase. They're getting ready for your funny response, right? So you guys we're going to talk a little bit later about some of the things I do with some of the adults in my groups. I'm not tickling them, right? I go to jail for that. But what am I doing? I'm engaging in these funny back and forths that we do, funny sayings, we quote back and forth. So all those things are the same. They're like, oh, it's coming. He's going to say it. He's going to say it, right? They're getting ready. So all that is built in there. You want clean connections. There's no breaks in the loop, right? So it's not like, oh, they run off. If they run off and they get their juice from the other room, or they just kind of like, you know, like kind of lay and stare at the couch for a few seconds, you're kind of breaking that loop, right? So you lose that chain. So you really want it to be clearly connected. You know, think of it as a chain, and preferably the final step is the most fun. Right, so sumo ends, you know, there's all these things where like you're watching, it ends with the charge and the grab and the tickle, right? And I kind of eat its belly a little bit. And that's the funnest part, right? Like, you know, now can you do that with some of the kids you work with? Probably not. So you have to figure out what things you can do. And avoid activities with a long history of automatic reinforcement. So things that they know, so like handing them something that they've always just kind of played with all by themselves. You really want to create new things that are giving them access to a new scope of the world. So why are we doing this? What are the things that we're teaching? So if you're thinking about how would I write an objective for this? You know, what am I like if an auditor asked me what we're working on? If they ask those things, boom, here it is. And on the left, you have kind of the initial kind of more basic skills. On the right, you have some things we're moving towards, okay? And there is Dr. Espinoza. I think that's the last picture of her down there with her dog who's wearing a lion mane. She's also like a really renowned dog trainer. Maybe not really, but she is a renowned dog trainer, and she does a lot of trainings on that too. So orienting, right? Orienting / eye contact, right? This is the way to teach this, right? So is going to go on record here saying, look at me, eyes. That is not the way to teach eye contact. You can prompt eye contact that way. And if you're like, oh man, I do that all the time. Okay, well, let's find a new way. Let's do it this way instead, right? Because this is why we look at people. We look at people for information. We look at people to see if they're interested, to see what's coming next. That's why we do, not because like there's some sort of rule that you must look at people, right? So orienting, you know, turning the body, the face, the eyes towards the kind of giver of reinforcement, looking particularly at the face, right? So you really want the signals to mostly be here so they get that value. Giving for assistance, right? What's that mean? So handing You know, if I need you to open something, what do? I gotta hand it to Danielle, right? Or if, you know, I want something to work, or I want something to make a certain noise, or I want the Play-Doh to be a snake, right? So you kind of are teaching that. Holding out hand to receive an object, really important for us, right? Handing things over and receiving things is really, really important. So we can do swaps, so we can do, you know, weight protocol, so we can do a lot of the stuff we do. So you can use this specifically to teach that, right? Because you can have a game where that happens. Jess Adam has one that she put in here that I think is perfect for it. Pointing to choose and looking at the adult, right? So not just choosing from an array, but kind of looking at the thing and then looking up for that, like, am I doing it right kind of thing, which is so valuable. And so many of our learners don't do that, right? If I said, like, think of how many of the kids you work with do not ever look at you for confirmation about things. I think you would all be able to think of at least a handful of kids, and maybe only work with a handful of kids. And then, like, really, you know, this activity specific anticipatory gestures, which is a little mouthful. But how great is that when they're like waiting? That's communication. That's manding, you know, like that is like the heart of what we do, is like when they're looking at you ready for something, you know, then that you've paired effectively. You know, a kid who's not paired with you is probably not going to do that. You know, so you want them to be able to do that. You want them to do that, you know, oh, he's gonna tickle me. You want the uppy hands, you know, you want them to like get, you know, like they start kind of swinging their body because you're gonna swing them. They start making the noises that are involved in the game. They ask for it, right? So it might be asking, right? But those activity specific anticipatory gestures. So if it's airplane, they're doing something differently than if it's a different game, right? So you start to get those kind of specific mans that we really want to have, right? And then beyond that, we teaching imitation, which is like you know, it's a generative skill. Once they can imitate really well, then they start imitating the people around them. You know, so like I quickly noticed like the kids would start playing sumo and they would start playing it with each other. And my kids learned that the kids love flying around like an airplane. So like they want to fly the baby around on their shoulders, which I sometimes allow and sometimes not. Responding to name, right? How do you get them to respond to their name? Like this, right? Seeking approval. How great is that when like they're no longer just kind of like doing things just because they're looking for that. Matching, early listener skills, so those initial directives. So we're building, so we've got these two, you know, kind of pictures, right? So 3 pictures, but the 2 at the top are really like these kind of learners who are actively engaged in what's going on. You can tell that they want what's about to happen. Versus the bottom, which you could probably like have a bunch of kids like who you're trying to engage. And this is more kind of what it looks like. They're turned from you. They've got closed, right? So like closed versus open positions, right? It's kind of something that's built into our body chemistry. So we want to move towards these open anticipatory kind of, you know, frameworks. So what's the danger? Why does danger pop up? Because as with all things, you could move towards all that stuff too fast, right? So if they aren't fluently doing the stuff on the left, like they're not, you know, frequently doing the orienting, the anticipatory stuff, the, you know, receiving things, and you're already trying to move to early listener responding, telling them what to do and having them do it, you've made a big mistake, right? So you just have to be careful, like with all things. Just like we always move past manding too fast, always, every time. If you've got any instance where you're like, nope, you're wrong. We always move past. If you stopped working on manding, you moved on too quickly, right? So, you know, that's why we require that manding goal. But it's really dangerous to move on to stuff too fast. We're always trying to get to that like sweet interverbal land, which is not the way. All right, so we can map it out really effectively. If you take this training that Francesca presents, she does a really good job of explaining what these can look like, and she gives a lot of examples. Here's really just 2. So the one on the left is just a tiny, like, here's what you can use to really map out what you're doing. All right. And then there's a short example, which is really just like the one loop. And then there's this long example, which like shows like how you can kind of draw this out, right? But if you just got the one, okay, so the first box, I don't know when Danielle can see it, so the first box here in the top left that you're looking at, that is the conditions under which this will work, right? So this is like motivation, right? So if the kid has been like tickled and chased and carried, you know, like a whole bunch, and they just want like, now they're like ready to just like sit on a couch, then the motivation might not be present for sumo or airplane or a bunch of the stuff we're gonna show you. Whereas if they just spent a whole bunch of time at preschool having to sit, now like movement's really, you know. So like I test, you know, like when you're kind of approaching and you kind of like maybe start doing some sumo things and they, you know, they get ready, you're like, okay, motivation is present. Okay, I'm good. Or like I show up and they're like, sumo, and I'm like, all right, they're ready, right? Motivation exists, okay? So that's the first box, is what needs to exist in order for this to work, so that we can go to box number 2, right? Which is really the first step of the chain, which is what you're going to do to say, okay, we're starting this routine, right? So usually I would start this with sumo, right? Or I might just start with raw. You know, that was really that raw noise is really what kind of like cued them in. So that's the first part, right? Is the first action. Then the middle one, again, can't exist without this. Their response, whether it's eye contact or an anticipatory gesture or a man or whatever it might be, they've got this link or else there is no chain. And then the close, right? How do you end it? Preferably the most reinforcing part of the chain, okay? And then that closes the loop. And then you can start over, right? You can keep looping, or you can move to kind of different versions here. Like here they're, you know, playing with like this, you know, these kind of fish items, looks like. I didn't memorize this one, but you know, they're making it fun. Okay, they're delivering objects, the kid's looking at the objects, they're kind of throwing stuff here. So it's fun. So you can map it out. You want to map it out so you know exactly what you're doing. All right, so I wanted to just kind of bring up giggle time. So giggle time is not really an ABA method. Saunders and Aud are not BCBAs but I can tell you that we used to use giggle time pretty prevalently, and it is really what we're talking about, right? So somewhere there's a giggle time curriculum. I think I let somebody borrow it, but we do have it somewhere. But this is really what it boils down to, okay? So you're identifying their actions. What do they do? What do they gravitate towards? What do they like? Assigning meaning, right? So that they have that response. Then you're creating that structured game, right? So how do we turn that into a chain, okay? Followed by repetition and consistency, right? So repeating it. So like, this is not a game you're just going to play once. Like sumo, every time I was there, we would do sumo multiple times, right? They never got tired of it because I never just did it for like an hour over and over and over. Then they would have gotten satiated on it, right? We would do it a few times. Okay, we're done. Let's do something else. And consistency, doing it similarly. Now, this is where I'm going to kind of change a little bit. I'm going to kind of talk about that coming up. Adjust on their response. What do they like better? And if you watch, we're going to watch the sumo video again one more time, and you're going to see that his response changes, and that changed the way that he did it. Not in this 3, but the way that he wants to do sumo now is very different. Maintain engagement, don't break the loop, okay? And build complexity gradually, right? So don't go from, you know, just kind of playing the game and all they have to do is look at you to them having to say, can we please play sumo? Can you ask more nicely? Can you wait 10 more minutes, right? So we're building all that stuff in gradually, bit by bit, little piece by little piece, or else you stand a very good chance of squishing it, right? So even though in giggle time, it kind of said, you know, maintain consistency, don't change it. We do want to over time vary and build it, right? Because if we always play sumo the exact same way and nothing ever changes, that does build a solid routine, but you do again also stand the chance of not being able to increase any skills that exist in there, right? and of just building, you know, a variety of things. You'll see kind of some variations on the one game that I'm going to show you, but we play it different ways, different times. A lot of the stuff is similar, but we do change some things. So what can you add? What can you change? Can you add other people? Can mom, you know, be part of this? Can the teacher be part of it? Can peers be part of it? You know, so sumo worked the best when there was the two kids both waiting for it. And so they had to like wait patiently. My nephews wait patiently for nothing except for the games that I play. They are very impatient children. But they will accept, nope, it's your brother's turn. They will accept that because they're so motivated to engage it. And they know it's coming. They know that the chain has an end. So they know that their turn is coming. Whereas if it was just more like, oh no, I'm playing with your brother right now. There's no like, oh, when is it going to happen? Right? It's predictable. Predictable. Can you shorten it or lengthen it? Right? Sometimes you have to do that and always change it before it loses its power. Some things don't really lose their power, but hit that change button when you need to. All right. So we're going to watch sumo again. Right. So when we do that, I want you guys, and I'm going to ask you to kind of answer some of these questions after. So what I want you to look for is places I could pause to wait for anticipatory gestures or additional commands. I want you to look at signs that this little guy is orienting, looking at me, making eye contact, any anticipatory gestures. So if you have, you know, a piece of scrap paper, it'd be great to kind of write them down as we go, but those are the things I want you to look for. Back to sumo, share, replay. All right.
All right, good. All right, you got sumo. You ready? You're done. Gonna be sumo?
Yes.
Again? Okay.
Okay. So what did we notice that time? Call it out or put it in the chat. As I try to get the screen share back up. No, Rob, that's the same thing. Lindsay, if anybody's responding, please call it out to me because I can't see the chat.
Yeah, I have my eye on the chat.
Nobody's saying anything.
Nope.
Places I could have paused. Where could I have paused? It's at least 5.
I think you could have paused like the second time that you were doing it. Like
That's what I
it
said.
looked like he wanted to man for it, but you just kept going.
Yep. For sure.
Holly says pause spot after each stomp before restarting the cycle.
Yes, Holly, there you go.
Tara says pause after initial verbal sumo.
Yes. You're getting it.
Sky says he giggled between your second step and first slap. There could have stretched that pause to increase waiting.
Yes. Yes. Did anybody notice what he did differently on the 3rd? Did anybody catch that?
He looked down and was anticipating.
He was definitely anticipating. He knew it was coming. Now, I will say this is the first time I ever played this game with him. That's probably important to know. Like, this is not like an established routine with him. This is literally, we recorded the very first time that he saw this, right? So any of these anticipatory gestures were building right there in that moment. He did something different. So the 3rd time, I don't know if anybody caught it, but the 3rd time he jumped to me.
Sky said he jumped towards you to man for pickup.
Guy, killing it, right? So every other time he did the giggles, he kind of got ready. Did you guys see him get low? I really think that's one of almost the most important pieces of it is he equalizes with me, right? Like I put him up on the couch. I didn't always play that way, but like his eye, so he got down, so he was almost crouching like me so that we could kind of be on eye level. But that jump to me completely rewrote this game. Now he jumps to me now and he slaps me in the face. So it's very funny, Daniel. So that is not an appropriate part of the game. So it's a highly motivating game. So the game ends right there. The chain ends, we can't hit, I walk away. Fun ends, you know, so I haven't had enough repetitions to really kind of make sure that that has worked. But he's super excited. If you watch in here when I come, he like kicks at me a little bit. He's a hitty kind of kid. But so there is some like, you know, some danger in there. But so that's really, I love the progression of kind of your learning experience there, because you started with the in-between like rounds of sumo. Absolutely, right? We could build in manding, we could build in these kind of play chains. But really what's important is like right in there. I could have kept pausing. I could stomp one foot, wait, because he's looking the whole time, right? But our kids, especially the first time you play it, if you do something like this, they're not necessarily going to look. You can wait for them to look at you. Then you do the next foot, right? Then you do the knee slaps, anywhere in there before the tummy slaps, before the charge, I probably wouldn't interrupt the charge, right? Like I wouldn't charge before, like, and then stop and then pick them up, maybe, but probably not. All right. So sumo. Let's watch wiggle arms. So Julie taught me about wiggle arms. I don't know. I'm going to give her credit for having made up wiggle arms. Rob, what'd you do? What'd you do? Oh no. I don't know what you guys are seeing. There we go. Stop share. So wiggle arms is a kind of shorter chain that I've never experienced a kid who does not like the wiggle arms. Okay. Everybody okay? You guys good? Yeah, good. I can only see you when I stop sharing. So I saw some faces. All right. Wiggle arms. Okay, can we see it?
Yes.
Okay. All right, here we go. Here's wiggle arms. Also the first time he's ever played this.
And do it again?
Yes.
Ready?
I'm not throwing him down. That's part of the game. They usually fall.
Yes.
Ready?
All right. My older son was videotaping, so that's taping. That's where you see a lot of these, like, all right, stop, keep rolling. Those are my cues to him to make sure he's recording correctly. So here, like this one's a lot, I mean, to me, it's a lot simpler. Like, you don't start wiggling the arms until they look at your face, right? And this is a much shorter, but they usually want to do it like a million times. Although it does, my 10-year-old son, we used to use this, he loved it, but it would make him nauseous. I'm not really sure why. But I mean, I guess maybe some of you guys could be like, yeah, it'd make me nauseous too, Rob, if you wiggle my arms like that. Now, this will not work if you try to do this to your spouse or loved ones. Only kid arms are flexible like that. Like if I tried to wiggle Danielle's arms, one, she wouldn't let me. Like her brain would not let me do that to her, but also just like, we're more rigid. I'd break her probably, which we don't want to happen. Okay. Oh, look, we're all the way back at the beginning. No, we should be able to. Don't use presenter view, resume slideshow. There we are. All right, so wiggle arms is a lovely one. Oh, here we go. Tina and the Dino. So this was submitted by Alex. So, it was harder for you guys. Recognize this is like a hard, why did I stop sharing just to show that? I don't know. I didn't realize that was next. So like you guys are thinking like, oh, like you wanted us to send you videos, Rob, but you don't all have like kids at your disposal to kind of do this kind of stuff. It's happening. So a lot of you sent ideas, but so Alex sent one where he is using this fantastic little dinosaur to demonstrate. All right. No, Tina the Dido. Hey, here we go.
Hey, Tina, I brought some clay. What do you think we should make today? Should I make a horse? Horse. What color horse? Blue horse. Awesome. Make a blue horse?
Tina's
Make
got a very
blue
deep voice.
horse. You got it. You got it. What do you think? Well, what should I make next? Snail. What color snail? Yellow snail. Make a yellow snail? Make a yellow snail. Awesome, awesome. Let's see. How's it look? What should I make next? Make a green alien with 6 white eyes and 6 yellow tentacles. Oh. Okay. Got it. What do you think?
Okay.
That's hilarious.
I hope you guys could hear all the sound effects that the wonderful Alex input there.
Edit was amazing.
The magical tinkling of
Yeah.
and the applause when he makes the the alien with 6 white eyes and tentacles or whatever. See the evolution of so he was just brilliant in this. Alex at one point years ago did a Giggle Time training. So, you know, maybe if you guys ask him really nicely, he might do that again. But it really is like, this is the idea behind that. So, but you can see he shows it's almost like time lapse for photography. You know, he goes from like lots of prompting, highly, you know, kind of high motivation, you know, low effort on the child's end to the end result, which is this child asking for this kind of complex routine. So I just, you know, I think it's a fantastic kind of snapshot of one of these play routines that's more advanced, right? So this required some echoing, some vocal manding, right? So you can see where you can kind of make this a little bit more complex, you know, and hopefully you guys have the skills to be able to make these things. So here we go. Code word number 2 is Tina. Eat your food, Tina. Tina's got a very deep voice. Make sure you all send kudos to, oh, Rob Harvey. All right. So, before we go to Holly's ideas, I skipped my idea. Oh, I bet I can show it, but I'm not going. I will go back there in a second. But this is 2 versions of the airplane game. That, you know, depending on the size of your child, you may or may not be able to play, because it does require you putting the kid on your shoulders, or carry them in some way. So we're going to start with airplane version 1. This is an established routine with these guys, right? So they had never done wiggle arms before. They had never done sumo before. But this is one that both of these boys know very well. So I want you to, just like in all these, I really want you to watch for opportunities for manding, ways that things could change, ways that I could look for it. Now it's harder because I can't see his face. So you might like immediately notice that is a limitation. So you have to find those anticipatory moments in different ways.
Airplane? Really?
He asked for it specifically. Got a duck under all the doorposts. You build in. He blasts his cousin with his feet machine guns. Oh, he pointed. I missed it. Do you guys see there? He manned for something.
Do it again. All right, ready? Stop there, Dan.
So, did you guys see him pounding on my head?
Mhm.
That's an anticipatory gesture. Did you guys see him manned for a different direction?
Mhm.
But I didn't see it.
Yeah.
I didn't see it, so I missed a manned, right? So that's where if you can't see them, right? So that's version 1. I'll show you. Did it follow? Can you see Airplane Plus, you guys?
Yes.
Yes? Okay.
Yes.
So this one is slight variation.
Ready?
His mom showed up.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
I incorporated my beautiful wife.
Mommy. Uh-oh, watch out, watch out. Uh-oh, uh-oh. Whoa. Oh, watch out, Grammy. Good.
All right, so we've added in a very simple extra action that another person can use. Okay, so we incorporated my wife. This could be mom, this could be a teacher. All they have to do is when I walk by, tickle the kid. Super simple, right? But it creates an additional step. They're laughing. They might ask for it. So the younger, the 1-year-old who loves Airplane, he will ask for couch to be dropped. He will ask for his wubby, which is not me. He also calls me wubby, but his wubby is like his little blanket. So we do like a thing where I turn him upside down and I go ding, 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 and I lower him down to grab whatever's on the floor that he wants, and then he goes back up. Right. So we're adding all these kind of steps, but so I can hear him manding. He does a little bit more. Now you can't do this with your teenagers, unfortunately. That would be dangerous and too heavy. Let me see if I can get back to, we're going to end the slideshow. We're going to get back to the slide I want to be on because there might be something. There's not, of course. Of course, there's not. Current slide. All right, so now I know we've only got 10 minutes left. So, so now we're going to bust through some of these other ideas, so that you guys, and I'll send all of this. So because I don't want your ideas to not be recognized. Oh, come on. Oh, come on. It was working before. Where's the resume? Resume. Can you guys see just the PowerPoint?
Mhm.
Excellent. All right, so show video panel. Boy, this is Gina's thinking the whole time, Rob, you should have done this in Google Slides because then you could have embedded the videos, and I'm agreeing with you 100%. So I'm going to stay knelt down here because I can't read this tiny writing. So Holly had a million ideas, and they're all fantastic, right? So identifying preferences, choosing jobs, right? Incorporating choice whenever possible, that builds that in. Picked activities, this is my favorite. I highlighted in blue my favorites from each of your suggestions. Pick activities that are fun to us, right? So if you hate playing a game with a kid, they're going to pick up on that super quick and you're going to be bored and it's bad, right? I've always tried to express that idea to people. Like, if you're having fun, then most likely the kid is having fun too, right? Because if they're not into it, then you're not going to have fun. So if you're having fun and they're having fun, everybody's having fun. That's really what we want to move towards, right? Incorporating moderately preferred items into skills, fading and teaching skills, lots of great stuff. This is a really good one too. We started building sounds into play. Whenever they make a T sound, you can tell he wants tickles. It's like an introductory man. The kid's running and laughing and running away, which again, if that's part of the chain, they can run away just as long as you're not moving the non-running game away from it. Then incorporate the device. Kat gave some great ideas. Okay, using some chase games to teach stop and go, using a swing. Kids love swings, and you can keep grabbing and stopping the swing if they need you to push them. Starting things with songs, lots of pieces of a certain toy, right? So there's a lot of like opportunities for them to look to you to get the next piece. And making up voices and actions for preferred items. Love that, right? Like, how much did you love Alex's little tiny, sound effects? Kids love it, right? Have fun. Have some fun with it. Lindsay, really awesome. She's doing intensive teaching. She's hiding cards around the house and making a hunt for it. They got to hunt for the next card. How much more motivating is it to do the next card, right? And there's that second step of the play chain there. We got to answer the first question to get to find the next card, right? So you've turned something that's, for a lot of kids, taxing, right? You've turned it into something that's more fun, but you're not just making it just fun. You're turning it into something, when I had my social skills groups at the Arch over there, I used to have them do scavenger hunts where they would go around the whole building. You have to go to the lobby and ask a parent, like, what's your favorite color? And then I would give that parent the next clue, right? So this is not just valuable one-on-one with one little kid. This is where you're thinking, like, how can I incorporate them so that this is a chain that they're feeling control over and they can continue. Promise reinforcers in conjunction with token economies. Brandy, super, super smart lady. I'd be thinking, like, Rob, why is this picture here? I'll tell you in a second, right? It's a kind of a funny-ish story. It's a quick story, right? So she's okay. So she's setting up this thing. We didn't even talk about this, but it's a new kid, right? So she's playing with something she knows they like and seeing if they approach, seeing if they have some anticipatory gestures. Whoa, I didn't even know this could do this, right? Or, hey, did you see that? Right? So just kind of doing things. So you're playing with it, you're building that kind of approach. If the kid even looks in her direction, then boom, she's immediately pouring the attention. See what she's doing right there? She's doing what we're learning today. She's waiting for that orienting, those anticipatory gestures, and she's immediately reinforcing it, right? She's not waiting for a full man. She's not waiting for a vocal man. So this picture is just about, if you go down, she talks about using peers. So like if she really can't engage a kid, she starts having fun. And this works really well with my nephews. Like if one of them just wants to sit and watch an iPad, I start playing with the other one and they're like, wait a second, my brother's having all kinds of fun. I don't want to play with this iPad. I want in on that, right? So they're highly motivated by, that kind of competitional attention. So the reason this picture is here is because sometimes you start doing things with other kids and the kid feels left out. I don't want you to make kids feel left out, but I did search for, I think I searched for the word, what was it? Evocative or something like that. And I'm not going to tell you what sort of Google results I got from searching for evocative when I wanted, something more like, oh, you want to do that, that's, I got weird things. So I put this one here because it kind of demonstrates, but certainly Brandy isn't saying you should make a kid feel left out. You're operating on that thing where you're having fun. They see it and they might join. It works sometimes. Jess Adam. So I talked about this reach out thing. So she makes her hand into a little spider, right? And they get to squish the spider. So you can make them they have to hold their hand out for the spider to crawl. And then you use your other hand to squish the spider and you go splat, right? It's kind of like the egg game, which is also fun, right? You get anticipation, all those sorts of things. So making faces, echoing sounds, hide and seek with the stuffed animal, right? So many good ideas. I wish we could spend a lot of time on all of them. Jess Malowitz taught a kid their address by teaching them a cheerleader routine. Obviously, they were motivated by cheerleading, right? Thought that was fantastic. I like all these ideas, but she does hide and seek with echoing. So like you can get it basically a hint for where the person is hiding by like making a noise and they echo you or you echo them, right? I thought that was fantastic. Kind of like what's that sound like, guys? What game is that? When you're trying to find people by
Marco Polo?
comes over the top.
Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, this is a version of Marco Polo, right? Absolutely. All right. So, oh my gosh, it works. I didn't realize I was moving in the pictures. All right, so that's great. Am I moving in the picture on your side? Yes, no?
Yeah.
Am I dancing? I'm dancing? Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right, good. So you're thinking like, how would I do this with, so these are adults that I'm working with for all of these ideas. So I've got this one kid that I do Jester's Dead with. So from Top Gun, right? So when he sees me coming, he goes, "Yeehaw!" And I go, "Jester's dead." And then we just keep going. It's from, if you don't know Top Gun, you wouldn't know. But it's like this routine that we do, and we get really excited. It's really fun. This is what does Mr. Rob need to know right now? That's what WDMRNTKRN means. That's how I abbreviate. That's what they call it. Right. So that's when they get to show me YouTube videos or memes that I should know. And guess what? Most of the other people in the room don't know them. Right. So they're really, I'm saying they're teaching me, but they're really teaching each other. Like what memes and what videos should they know? Okay, wrong cartoon is another kind of thing I do. So there's this one adult that I work with who always wears cartoon shirts. And when I see her, I say, "I hate Mises to pieces." That's Pixie and Dixie, or the cartoon mouse and cat. And that's his tagline, but it's not that shirt, right? So she goes, "Wrong cartoon." And I go, "Ah, that's right." Right. So it's just a funny thing. I've got an adult who I've got a nickname for them, and a long time ago they told me not. They said they didn't like that, but then they decided I could. But when I call them that name, it's not Scooby. But if I'm like Scooby, and they go, they make that face at me. Did you see the face? A face of deep disapproval. And then we both laugh, right? So like it's like a funny little routine. And then karaoke, that's me not doing karaoke, but that's what I do. Danielle's seen it, right? That's what I do when the adults are doing karaoke. I don't just put the song on for them and then walk away. Although sometimes the parents are like, "Oh, you put the song on, I can talk to them." I'm like, no, this is part of it. I do a lot of whoos and I do a lot of yeah, right? And I dance with them and I high five them and I sing next to them, depending on what they need. So we have kind of this like back and forth that continues it. They look to me, we're smiling, we're having fun. So it's not just the little kids. And your third code word, boom, karaoke. So your third code word is karaoke. Ooh, I don't think. All right. So just a reminder, I think this is the last slide, right? Your reminder that your homework is on the post test. The final question is, what new game or play routine or social routine, right? So not necessarily play, because that makes you think, "Oh, I can't do it with adults." What are you going to try? What are you going to do? It's got to go on the test. You got to think of one, and please don't cheat. Lots of references and resources. So there's 3 trainings on here. So again, I'll send this to Ashley so she can send it out with the post test. But 3 trainings. The middle one is the $30 version of the first one, which is free. But the middle one does have, like, it's not just Dr. Espinoza, it's also Tamara Casper, who also is like huge with this kind of stuff. So pretty good, but $30. And then the third one is a new one on Behavior Live, which is about teaching caregivers and therapists to play effectively. So I think it's great. So lots of good resources. Yeah, I'm going to stop the recording.